Today's lesson is called A Brief History of Pasta. Hello everyone, my name is Jeff.
I am Roger. Today we're going to continue talking about pasta and its history. And, of course, pasta refers to all those different kinds of Italian noodles that we are so fond of. Here in Taiwan, of course, pasta restaurants are pretty popular. They're more popular than they used to be. So, of course, the people of Taiwan know all about this stuff. I'm afraid the people in my home state don't really know that much about pasta. Where I'm from, they probably just know about lasagna and spaghetti. But of course, we know there are many other kinds of pasta. But hey, where did all these different kinds of pasta come from? That's what we began to discuss in our program last time.
Yeah, one note, we're not talking about the history of noodles, okay? We're talking very specifically about Italian noodles. Yes, other cultures have developed noodles, but for some reason or another, Italian noodles have conquered the world. Pasta has conquered the world. Now, we did talk about the history of pasta, or we started to talk about this history during the first part of our article. It goes back thousands of years, okay? And I believe at the end of our article last time, we had arrived at the 13th century. And today's lesson, well, it's going to take off from here. We are going to be learning about the history of pasta from the 13th century onward. And yes, again, this is a brief history of pasta. We can't talk about it all. Remember, the history is quite long, and further, there are more than 200 types of pasta, so if we were going to do an exhaustive history of pasta, we would be here all day and all night long. All right, folks, with that, it is time for us to take a short break, but don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
In the 1300s and 1400s, dried pasta was increasingly common. Its long shelf life made it convenient to store and ship. Over time, the development of machinery to manufacture pasta brought prices down, and pasta surged in popularity. By the 17th century, rich and poor alike were indulging in this tasty treat, and pasta had begun to spread to other parts of Europe.
各位好，第一部分我们看到的单字是 manufacture， 这个字是动词，指大量制造、生产。例如，In order to increase profits, some multinational companies have begun manufacturing products in Southeast Asia instead of China. 为了增加获利，有些跨国企业已经开始在东南亚制造商品，而不是在中国。而在 manufacture 的字尾加上 r， 则可以成为它的名词 manufacturer， 指制造商、制造者。所以我们可以说Before it could be sold, the car needed to be sent back to the manufacturer for repairs. 在这台车能被贩售之前，它必须要被送回制造厂进行修复。再来，我们看到 surge 这个字为动词，有激增、急剧上升之意。像是 With the release of a brand new album, the pop star's popularity surged. 那名流行巨星推出全新专辑，人气飙升。而 surge 除了当动词之外，还可以当名词使用，指激增、波涛。所以可以说 A surge of hot air came into the train when the door was opened. 当火车的门开启时，一阵热风吹进来。接着我们看到动词 indulge， 课文中指使尽情享受，后面常接 in 名词或动词 ing 来表示沉溺于点点点。举例来说Since Derek hadn't eaten New York-style pizza in over 2 years, he indulged in the perfect food when he visited home. 由于 Derek 已经2年多没吃到纽约的披萨了，他返乡时便大肆享用这个绝佳美食。而 indulge 除了有以上的意思外，还可以指宠溺、纵容。所以我们可以说 Beatrice indulges her children so much that many people think they are spoiled. Beatrice 太过于纵容她的孩子们，导致很多人觉得他们有些被宠坏。
Okay, let's continue with our explanation. We're talking about the history of pasta. So moving along in history, in the 1300s And the 1400s, which would be the 14th and 15th centuries respectively, dried pasta was increasingly common. So I guess pasta before that was wet pasta, probably fresh pasta. You probably had to eat it as soon as you made it. But now we've got dried pasta. That probably is very similar to the pasta we have today. Dried pasta, which you can keep in your shelf for months at a time, and it was more and more common. You could see it in more places back during that time.
Now, Roger just said that, yes, you could take dried pasta and you can put it on a shelf in your kitchen or in your pantry, and it will last for a long time. Yes, this is very true, and that's why dried pasta became so common. It became increasingly common for this reason and others as well. But yes, next we learn more about this. Its long shelf life made it convenient to store and to ship. So like Roger said there, you could take dried pasta and it would last a long time in your kitchen, in your pantry, so on and so forth. You could store it for a long time, i.e., it has a long shelf life. So it's convenient to store and to ship. You can put it away for a long time and not worry about it. Or you can carry it to different places and transport it to different places, and you don't need to worry about it spoiling or going bad.
Indeed. So we're talking about its shelf life. Some food has a short shelf life, so you have to eat it within a day, but pasta had a long shelf life, which made it more convenient to keep at your house or to send to other countries. Now, over time, the development of machinery to manufacture pasta brought prices down, and pasta surged in popularity. It became very popular as a result of that. So they developed machinery, which would refer to a mechanical process, and it would refer to the machines themselves to actually produce pasta or to manufacture pasta. So remember here, machinery does refer to the equipment or the machines that are necessary to manufacture something. And please, this word is non-count most of the time. Machinery, so you can't say, how many machineries does your company have? No, you can't say that. It's ridiculous. It's wrong. How much machinery do you have?
How much machinery is in this factory, you could say. Speaking of factories, usually when you manufacture something, you make that thing in large numbers in a factory, though that's not the case here. What we're saying is that it became possible to make a lot of dried pasta. You could make pasta quite easily at this point. You could make a lot of it, or you could mass produce pasta, or just make a whole lot of pasta. That's what it means to manufacture pasta. For example, you could say American car companies manufacture their vehicles in Canada very often. Yes, there are large automobile plants in Canada. So when you buy an American car, you might just have bought a car that was made in Canada. How about that? And yes, machinery, you can use this word to refer to machines taken together. And here's another side note. You can also talk about machinery as being like the pieces or the parts of a machine as well. I didn't want to leave that out. Then we also have the verb surge. Okay, here to surge is to suddenly get bigger or to increase. Now, you can also use this word surge as a noun. Okay, a surge is a sudden and dramatic increase in something. It's a rapid and fast growth of some kind. But in our article here, it has been used as a verb. For example, you could say, the population of Los Angeles surged in the first half of the 20th century.
Yep, more and more people moved to LA trying to become actors and actresses in Hollywood. But indeed, pasta became really, really popular. It surged in popularity. It became popular overnight. And by the 17th century, which would be the 1600s, rich and poor alike were indulging in this tasty treat. Rich and poor alike just means both rich and poor people were indulging in pasta, which we're describing as a tasty treat here. The verb to indulge just means you allow yourself to enjoy something, especially if it's something that you need to limit, like you might indulge in ice cream on the weekend. I've been a good boy all week, eating nothing but fruits and vegetables, but hey, I'm going to indulge in a hot fudge sundae this Saturday afternoon. I deserve it.
It sounds weird, everyone, but when you use this word indulge, by the way, some regret might be involved because, yes, if you indulge in something, you allow yourself to do that thing like Roger said before there. You allow yourself to fulfill a desire you might have, even though you know that you might just regret that in the future. Okay, for example, you could say Dennis indulged his sweet tooth by eating a candy bar, but Dennis is thinking, I probably shouldn't do this too often. If I do, I'll have terrible teeth. My mouth will be riddled with cavities. Anyways, yes, by the 17th century, rich and poor alike were indulging in this tasty treat, and pasta had begun to spread to other parts of Europe. How about that? All right, folks, with that, it is time for us to take a short break, but don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
The recipes of the time were quite different from those of today. Noodles were cooked until much softer, and pasta dishes were often sweet, calling for ingredients such as sugar, cinnamon, and rose water, as well as cheese and butter. Tomato sauce didn't exist. The Spanish brought tomatoes back from the Americas in the 1500s, and the first known recipe for pasta with tomato sauce only appeared in 1790.
Okay, let's continue talking about the history of pasta. And of course, so we've got different recipes for pasta, and the recipes of the time were quite different from those of today. Basically, how to make the noodles is what recipes referred to. And the way they made pasta was quite different from the way we make pasta today in modern times. Noodles were cooked until much softer, and pasta dishes were often sweet, calling for ingredients such as sugar, cinnamon, and rose water, as well as cheese and butter. So that's not very similar to the way we eat pasta nowadays. Of course, pasta dishes nowadays oftentimes includes tomato sauce in some form, but back then they cooked the noodles until they were much softer, which of course means they're not as hard as the pasta noodles we eat today, and they were often sweet with sugar and cinnamon and stuff like that. And if you require these things in a recipe, we could say that you call for these things. You need to have these ingredients like sugar or cinnamon, which is like rogue, right? It's like that sort of brown powder.
A brown powder that's used to flavor foods, but in fact, it only has a smell. It doesn't actually have a taste. Like apparently, if you couldn't smell cinnamon, you wouldn't be able to taste it. I've heard that that's a thing. Anyways, yes, it's like a brown spice that flavors food and makes it aromatic. And usually it comes in sticks, cinnamon sticks. Or if you do go to the spice aisle in your grocery store, you might not find it fresh in that stick form. You might find it in a canister, and they've already ground that up for you. Anyways, noodles were cooked until much softer, and pasta dishes were often sweet. Calling for ingredients such as sugar, cinnamon, and rose water, as well as cheese and butter. Now, I'm on board for the cheese part, but everything else here, I'm not a big fan of. In fact, I don't like soft, soggy pasta. I like firm pasta that you actually have to chew and bite through. I believe the Italians call the perfect consistency of pasta al dente. It's slightly firm to the tooth. It's not mushy or soft. And get this, back then when they were making these weird pasta dishes, tomato sauce didn't exist. They had pasta, but not tomato sauce. How did they make do?
Yeah, how did they do that? Well, of course, as you know, tomatoes came from the New World, so the Spanish brought tomatoes back from the Americas, North and South America, in the 1500s, and the first known recipe for pasta with tomato sauce only appeared in 1790. And indeed, when the Spaniards brought tomatoes back to Europe, the Europeans were like, "Ugh, what's this stuff? We're not going to eat that. It's probably poisonous." So it took some time before tomatoes caught on, but we all love them today. And as I said earlier, tomato sauce is very popular with pasta, but back then it was unheard of. Well, the first known recipe for pasta appeared in 1790. That's quite late in the history of pasta. I think I'd rather have the tomato sauce than sugar or cinnamon or rose water. That sounds kind of weird to me.
I am in total agreement with you on that. I couldn't eat that old-style stuff, even though spaghetti with tomato sauce is kind of a relatively recent development in the world of pasta. I would take that over rose water, butter, cinnamon, sugar, soggy pasta any day of the week. All right, folks, with that, it's time for us to take a break, but don't go away. When we come back, we're going to wrap up our article on pasta.
Tomato sauce may have been the reason for the development of modern forks. Older pasta recipes had been relatively dry, and pasta was traditionally eaten with one's hands. Spaghetti smothered in tomato sauce made this impossible, leading to the invention of forks with 4 tines. Today, pasta is more popular than ever. Italians devour around 25 kilos per person every year, and this delicious staple has become a dish of choice for people around the world.
第3部分，我们看到一个单字 smother， 这个字是动词，课文中指完全覆盖、盖满。常用 smother something in 或是 smother something with 名词来表示用点点点覆盖。像是 Many children will smother a hamburger with ketchup rather than taste pure meat. 许多孩子会在汉堡上挤上满满的番茄酱，而不品尝肉的原味。而 smother 除了有上述的意思之外，还可以指使窒息或使喘不过气。我们可以说 I was smothering when the air was full of smoke in the room. 当房间充满着烟时，我喘不过气。接下来我们看到名词 tine 指叉子的尖头、尖齿。例如 Jason said that the chair in his living room was made from deer antler tines. Jason 说他家客厅内的那张椅子是由鹿角的尖齿所制成的。最后我们看到一个单字 devour， 这个字是动词，用来指狼吞虎咽的吃。举例来说 She was so hungry after basketball practice that she devoured an entire roast chicken. 篮球练习结束后，她饿到吃下一整只烤鸡。而 devour 除了有上述的意思，还可以指吞噬。所以可以说 The company devoured several competitors in a spate of buyouts. 该公司大量买断吞噬掉好几家竞争对手。
Okay, let's move on now to the final part of our lesson for today. Tomato sauce. Okay, that's an ingredient with pasta that's quite common. Tomato sauce may have been the reason for the development of modern forks. How about that? We've got a 2-for-1 lesson for today. We're not only talking about the origin of pasta, but we're also talking about the origin of forks, or at least the modern version of forks. So I guess we have tomato sauce to thank for the origin of forks. Gee, how could that be? Why would tomato sauce cause the invention of modern forks?
Well, I've got an answer for you there, Roger. The next sentence says, older pasta recipes had been relatively dry, and pasta was traditionally eaten with one's hands. But how do you eat a bowl of steaming hot spaghetti and tomato sauce with your hands? It can't be done. Yes, spaghetti smothered in tomato sauce made this impossible, i.e., you could no longer eat the pasta with your hands, and this led to the invention of forks with 4 tines. And yes, the end of the fork there is broken into 4 separate parts of metal, thin pieces of metal. These thin pieces of metal are actually called tines.
So we have spaghetti sauce, tomato sauce to thank for forks having 4 tines. How about that for a tongue twister? But in any case, we're moving on to the next paragraph. It says, today pasta is more popular than ever. It's probably the most popular that it's ever been throughout its history. Even in Italy, where it comes from, Italians devour around 25 kilos per person every year. And this delicious staple has become a dish of choice for people around the world, including here in Taiwan. So if you eat something with great gusto, with great pleasure, we say you devour that thing. Oh, I was so hungry after my test. I went down to the nearest buffet and devoured about 5 pounds of food. I was so hungry.
Wow, you must have been hungry. Here's another example sentence. You could say, you must have been hungry. You devoured that sandwich. And the idea here is that Italians eat a lot of pasta. So we're using this strong word. Italians devour a lot of pasta. About 25 kilos or kilograms per person every year. So yes, the Italians, they sure do eat a lot of pasta. Now, before we take a break, we've got one other word to talk about. It's the word staple, and here we're not talking about a thin piece of metal that you can use to fasten two pieces of paper together using a stapler. No. Here, a staple is a main or important food. Like in the West, bread is often a staple food or a staple, whereas in Asia, rice is considered a staple. But if you go to Italy, there, chances are your staple is going to be delicious pasta.
Yeah, I understand that spaghetti is served as a staple with meals, not as the main dish, but just as something that comes with something else. At least that is what I'm told. But in any case, it's a staple all over the world, and I'm sure the good people of Taiwan here eat pasta on a regular basis at the many pasta restaurants all over the place. So there you have it, a brief history of pasta. I bet we have made you hungry, haven't we? It's time now to listen to our Chinese teacher before you can go off and eat.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文一开始提到，在14和15世纪，干燥的意大利面食逐渐变得很普遍。他说 Its long shelf life made it convenient to store and ship， 可以长时间保存，使它方便储存和运送。好，那这边用到的句型是 make it 形容词加上不定词来表示使某事变得怎么样。那其实这个用法它是源自于 make 加受词加受词补语的句型。make 在这边呢，它表示使变得。那么受词补语你可以用名词或形容词用来对受词做补充说明。像来个简单的例句 The news made her sad， 意思就是那个消息使她很难过。好，可是当我们的受词是不定词，也就是 to 加原形动词的时候，你就不能写作 make 不定词加受词补语啊，我们就要改用虚受词 it 来代替受词的位置，然后再把这个真正的受词不定词把它移到句尾，句型就会变成 make it 受词补语加上不定词。好，那同样的这个句型里面受词补语你也可以用形容词或名词来表示，甚至还可以在不定词的前面再加上 for somebody 来表达使某人做某事变得怎么样。例如 The internet has made it possible for us to communicate with people from around the world. 网络使我们跟世界各地的人沟通变得有可能。好，那我们句子里面的真正的受词就是 to communicate with people from around the world. 那么受词补语则是形容词 possible 来形容这件事是有可能的。好，那我们再造一个例句。She makes it a habit to practice the piano 2 hours a day. 她养成一天练钢琴练2个小时的习惯。那么句子里面的受词是 to practice the piano 2 hours a day. 那它的受词补语是名词 a habit， 用来补充说明说每天练习2个小时，这个是一个习惯。好，再读到课文第二部分的第二句，他说 Noodles were cooked until much softer.And pasta dishes were often sweet, calling for ingredients such as sugar, cinnamon, and rose water, as well as cheese and butter. 面条被煮到比较软，而且意大利面食的餐点呢，通常是甜的。需要的食材有糖啊、肉桂、玫瑰水，还有 cheese 跟奶油。那这边我们要介绍的是片语动词 call for 的用法。好，第一种就是课文的用法。它表示需要，那么意思就跟 require 一样，它的受词啊可以是人或是事物。举例来说 This job calls for computer skills. 这份工作需要电脑相关技能。好，那再造个例句，假设朋友刚得到工作，得到一份新工作，你可以说 You got the job?That calls for a celebration. 你得到那份工作，这当然要庆祝一下咯。好，那么第二种用法是用来表达要求啊，或者是公开呼吁。常见的用法就是 call for something 或是 call for somebody to do something。例如 Local residents are calling for more safety measures.
当地居民呼吁要有更多的安全措施。好，以上是今天的重点整理，我来回顾今天的单字吧。
Machinery. By law, you must be over the age of 18 to operate certain kinds of machinery. Manufacture. The company manufactures most of its products in overseas factories. Surge. After the artist was featured in the local newspaper, interest in his work surged. Indulge. When she feels stressed, Amanda indulges in a meal of her favorite comfort food. Devour. The pizza was so good that the crowd devoured it within only a couple of minutes. Staple. Rice is a staple for about 3.5 billion people, which makes it one of the most important foods in the world.
Discussion Starter starts now!
All right, now it's time for our discussion starter. Hey, Roger, what surprised you most about pasta's history?
Well, I was kind of surprised that pasta was eaten by hand in the early days of pasta. I've always thought of Europe as being a very civilized place. I can't imagine the Europeans ever using their hands to eat anything, so that was quite surprising to me that they would actually use their dirty, grubby hands to eat that food. How about you?
I was surprised to learn that pasta used to be served mushy and they added sugar and butter and cinnamon to it. Oh my gosh, and the rose water. Where did the rose water come from? I was surprised to learn that the recipes for pasta from long ago were kind of disgusting. Okay, everyone. With that, today's article is now complete. But, as always, we sure hope that you guys have enjoyed reading along with us. Anyways, I'm Jeff.
I am Roger.
See you next time.